My name is Parker Townley, and as was mentioned earlier, I work for the coffee team at Fairtrade USA. And previously, I was the national organizer for Fairtrade colleges and universities. So I want to thank each and every one of you because you all inspire me through the work that you do and actually make the work that I do now possible. So thank you. So today, we're going to do a quick lesson on coffee economics. The world of coffee is in crisis, and it's important that we understand why and how we got here. You may or not know it, but coffee as a commodity is traded on the New York Stock Exchange. So there's something actually called the C market. This is the price that's traded each and every day. It determines what price is paid to farmers around the world. And there are tens of millions of coffee farmers who depend on that price. Sometimes they can earn a little bit more if they have a higher quality coffee or if their coffee comes from a country that is well known for a certain kind of brand. So that means that this price that's set on international markets is extremely important. It determines what livelihoods looks like for all these people. So what's happening with that market? This is a look at changes in the C price over the last 10 years. And what you'll notice is that it's extremely volatile. From as high as $3 per pound paid to farmers and farmer organizations back in 2011, that's the top of that spike, almost, 8 years ago now, to 95 cents to 96 cents per pound, which is around what the coffee market is trading at right now. So we at Fairtrade USA have worked with Cornell University on a series of research projects to understand what are the costs that farmers face, how much do they need to be paid to remain in business in the short, the medium, and the long term. And I'm not going to go through all the details of what that research says, but it's sufficient to say that where we're at right now is nowhere near the price that needs to be paid to coffee farmers. Not just for them to be sustainable in the long term, but for them to be able to cover their short term, this year's costs. So we're in essentially a huge crisis right now for coffee farmers around the world. So, and I should note that part of the reason why Fairtrade even exists is because there was a coffee crisis back in the early 2000s. So that's actually how we got our start certifying coffee. It was a way to provide a minimum price for coffee farmers. So it's a little bit depressing to be back at square one. And it's important to understand what all of this means for actual people. So this is Rey Humberto. He's a coffee farmer in Colombia. And if you are faced with a price where at 95 cents per pound, what does that mean in your day-to-day life? That might mean if you're Rey Humberto and you're working on 1 or 2 acres of farm, that you can't pay for workers to come in and help you bring in the harvest. That might in turn mean that you have to depend on your family to be able to pick the coffee cherries and be able to bring it to the processing center. That might in turn mean that your children have to come out of school, so that way they are no longer able to gain access to education. It might mean that you have to compromise on things like healthcare or on providing for your family when it comes to the next meal. It also might mean that you've decided after decades of struggling through coffee farming that it's not worth it anymore. And that it's time to leave your farm and head to the city, or potentially that you're going to go to another country where you can find better benefits, better opportunities. That's when people are vulnerable to all kinds of challenges and issues like human trafficking. So the coffee market is extremely important for all of these people. The good news is Rey Humberto is part of a Fairtrade cooperative. So when we look back at this graph, there's a very important component of the Fairtrade system that helps to provide an assurance for farmers like Rey Humberto. This is the Fairtrade minimum price plus premium. It's $1.60. If you do the math, that's 60% above the current market price. If you're an organic farmer, then you're at $1.90. That's 90% above the current market price. You're making almost double. And I should note that this is not meant to be the price that we want farmers to be receiving. I want it back up at $3 per pound. But it's supposed to essentially make it so that farmers can be able to smooth out and ride out the worst shocks of the market. Because when you're a farmer and you're in turn having to deal with the speculation that banks and investment firms are doing on the New York Stock Exchange, this has to be a way to be able to ride out some of those issues. So that's how the fair trade system right now is benefiting farmers. As Paul mentioned, because of some of these dynamics, the economic value and benefit of fair trade in the last year is the highest it's ever been. And a lot of that is due to both the minimum price and the premium. Unfortunately, not all farmers are able to access the fair trade system. And even those who are certified are not able necessarily to sell their coffee on fair trade terms. There's much more coffee available in supply as fair trade than is actually demanded. And so that's where it comes back to us. It's our responsibility to make sure that there's demand, that farmers can find customers who are willing to buy coffee on these better market terms. So I'm going to talk through a couple ways that you all can be able to help to support millions of farmers around the world in a time of crisis. And by the way, this is a picture of Colombia because it's just beautiful and I love it there. So coffee is grown in some of the most beautiful places in the world. So one organization that is helping to lead things forward is the Sustainable Coffee Challenge. This is a group that I volunteer with on the side to help lead some of their sourcing initiatives. The Sustainable Coffee Challenge is a group that got started in 2019 at a climate conference in Paris. It's bringing together coffee companies, coffee NGOs, anyone that works in this world, with the goal of helping coffee become the world's first 100% sustainable commodity. That's a big goal. It's going to take a long time to get there, but you know what? If you're gonna set a goal, you might as well be set it as high as you can. And this organization is working in a way where they're taking everyone's actions. They're saying, okay, you're a large company, you're a large retailer, a brand, a roaster. What are you currently doing? Tell us what you're going to do to take things to the next level. What are you going to do in 5, 10, 15, 20 years? And then you need to make that commitment public, and you need to be able to share us the metrics and show to the general consumer population that you're actually delivering on that commitment. At the moment, there are organizations like McDonald's, like Walmart, all sorts of different really large organizations that are starting to get on board. We at Fairtrade USA want to make sure that if these organizations are getting on board and making commitments, that they're taking the economics of the situation into the core of those commitments. In the next few months, we'll be releasing a joint commitment with retailers, food service operators, roasters, brands, importers, who will be leveraging the fair trade system to be able to provide these assurances to farmers. And that's where you all come in. The first stage of this joint commitment will be launched very soon, and look out, it'll be in your inbox very soon. There's a couple very exciting brands that I'm currently working with their legal teams to actually get all of the wording around, so that'll be coming up in a bit. But later on this year, for National Coffee Day, we have a goal of getting our round 2. And you all come from a wide range of institutions that have a lot of purchasing power. So my request for you is to, 1, educate yourselves, educate everyone you know, make sure they understand that there is a crisis that's actually happening. We live in a world where the news cycle is about 24 hours long, and folks can't focus on the issues that actually impact day-to-day lives. So that's our responsibility. And then secondly is challenge your institutions to take part, to get on board. If it's a university, they can incorporate fair trade into their sustainable purchasing programs. They can actually commit to 100% fair trade coffee. Why not? It's available. If you're in a town and you're working as part of a Fair Trade Town campaign, you can work with your local roaster. You can work with your supermarkets. A big area of growth for us in the last few years has been through grocery retail, where we've started to engage a wide range of retailers, like Kroger, who now does 100% of their Simple Truth line as fair trade coffee, and is actually the largest fair trade private label brand in the world. But it's not enough, and we need to do more. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. It's a little bit of a dour situation, but I'm excited about the opportunity that we have based off of the work that we've already done and based off the fact that the fair trade system is built for situations like this. All it takes is for us to take action. So thank you. And as a former organizer, I just want to say that whenever you make requests to your organizations, whether it's, again, a university or a retailer, they take note. You have the power in this room, and you have the power in this world. So go out there, take it, and create change. Thank you.